Hello guys, full time at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2. I've got to say I was feeling pretty different about life about 10 to 5 with Liverpool being held 0-0 at Brentford. Two late goals from Darwin Núñez giving them the 3 points there. And then Arsenal surrendering a 2-goal lead here against Aston Villa. Liverpool have got their lead back, their advantage back. And it's another disappointing weekend for us in the title race. I must say, feared this game significantly more than the Tottenham game. Partly Villa are just a better side, a more complete side, but I also think they're a worse matchup for us. And as well, we came into this game with a thin squad, stretched off the back of an emotional, pulsating derby game. And I always thought this would be a test, so it proved. I've got to say that inside the stadium we didn't get replays of some of the key incidents, so it's difficult to comment. We didn't get replays of either Aston Villa goal, which is pretty unusual. We did get one replay of the disallowed winner, which came off Kai Havertz's hand, apparently. We saw one angle where Havertz was in profile, and it looked very difficult to tell from that whether it hit his hand or his stomach. You know, I must say, I hope that the VAR used other angles than that, because to me that angle was not conclusive. I can only assume, like I say, from a position in the stadium where we don't have the benefit of seeing what you're seeing via television, I can only assume they used other angles. If they didn't, it seemed pretty harsh to call that a clear and obvious handball, but there you go. I actually think Aston Villa were appealing for offside in the first instance and looking for offside, maybe, you know, someone being in the goalkeeper's eye line or something like that. They managed to spot a handball. So, yeah, I'm sure, you know, given our experiences with officiating and close calls not going our way, there'll be a lot of frustration and disappointment around that. I'm glad that Leandro Trossard was offside in the 95th minute, because otherwise I think I'd be thinking about that chance all night. A nice little ball from Lewis Skelly and dragged it wide, but he was deemed offside. Listen, for all the talk of officials, officiating decisions, let me get one thing clear. When you're 2-0 up at home, you need to win that game, right? You need to win that game. If you want to be champions, 2-0 lead, that needs to be secure. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. I did think that being 2-0 up flattered us somewhat. I thought it was harsh on Villa, who had offered a threat on the counter-attack. You know, there was a bit of fortune maybe about our goals. The fans certainly enjoyed Emi Martinez's part in them. He couldn't keep out Gabriel Martinelli's goal-bound effort, and I have got to say that's one area where the technology did work for us. To the naked eye, that did not look over the line, certainly from where I was stood in the stadium. But technology said it was, and thank goodness. I'm not sure I could see a referee or a linesman giving that goal without the technological support. So I've not always been, you know, the biggest on technology on football, but I've got to give it its due there. It'll probably be disappointing Emi Martinez as well that he didn't keep out Kai Havertz's volley. Great moment to see him score and hear the fans singing the Waka Waka, as Mikel Arteta put it in his press conference the other day.
It's like, no way, Missy's here.
And yeah, so there you go, 2-0 up. But maybe there is that defensive vulnerability without William Saliba. We saw a couple of seasons ago what it looks like when he's out of the team. You know, he picked up that injury, didn't he, in Europe, and the team just collapsed from that point on. I thought, you know, Timber did all right at centre-back. I thought Partey largely did all right, although it seemed like he lost Watkins for that second goal. But maybe without Saliba we just don't have that composure, we just don't have that same sense of security. Villa came back into it, and a bit like with Spurs in midweek actually, when they got one chance it seemed to produce a flurry. Almost like the concession of the chance or the first goal unsettled us a bit. I did think when it got to 2-2 and there was still 20 minutes or so to play, there's still plenty of time for Arsenal to claw this back. I thought in some ways, sounds absurd really, but I thought Villa might have scored too early. You know, if they'd got a last minute equaliser, I could see that happening. But with it going to 2-2, Arsenal had 20 minutes to go on and win it, right? But then you look at the bench and you think, what have we got coming off the bench to really turn the screw in those final few minutes? Raheem Sterling basically is your answer, and that was it. You know, without Saliba, Partey moved into defence. We had to start Marino. The manager doesn't seem to want to use Alexander Zinchenko at all. I think I would have brought him on. You know, I know Lewis Skelly had a good game, but Zinchenko's got the experience, the creativity. I think I would have rolled the dice on him in that final 20 minutes. Maybe Arteta just felt it might lead to a concession of a winning goal, and that would be too costly. Sterling comes on again, not a particularly eye-catching cameo. It was so thin in attack, and by that point you're dealing with a very fatigued Kai Havertz, Gabriel Martinelli, who did really well for his goal, Trossard, who had 2 assists right off his left foot. I think did about as much as you could ask of him, really. We just needed freshness. We just needed something like Liverpool had in Darwin Núñez, someone to come on and be the difference. And we didn't have that. I saw a really good comment on The Athletic the other day from a reader, and it was around the transfer situation and the attack and everyone, and they were saying, you know, a lot of people calling for Arsenal to sign a superstar striker. They weren't an Arsenal fan, I think they were a Liverpool fan. And they said, I think that's misguided. They don't necessarily need that. They just need somebody like a Jota, Diogo Jota of Liverpool. And that's so true, in my opinion. We just need someone who's versatile, knows where the goal is, and can make an impact. We don't have to sign a Salah. We just need someone with ability and goals. Who is that in the Premier League? I don't know, but I thought it was a good point nonetheless. Anyway, strange old week, because obviously we beat Spurs, we closed the gap, you're feeling good about the title race. Today's a setback, certainly, with Liverpool getting that winner, us dropping points from 2 goals up. I mean, Liverpool feel very good about things right now. Maybe a bit of a realism injection for Arsenal, maybe a bit of a reminder of where we're at, the deficiencies in the squad. I think Saliba and Gabriel, you know, are so important, and losing one of those at this point has hurt us. With Saliba on the pitch, do we hold on to that 2-goal lead? I don't know, but I'd certainly feel more confident about it. We've got a Champions League game in midweek that I imagine Arteta will rotate as much as he can. I know he doesn't love rotation and he takes the Champions League very seriously, but I would expect to see the likes of Kivior, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Sterling, all those guys on the team sheet, because this is a squad where players need rest, right? And I think we've got Wolves away the weekend following that. He'll want as strong a team as possible. If Saliba needs midweek off, give it to him. Hopefully it's no more than that. We've got Man City at home, not too far away as well, early February. We need to be mindful of that too. So, yeah, disappointing. It's that same old theme that I've sort of said so many times this season. This is not necessarily a bad result. A draw with Villa, they're a good side. It's not a terrible result in isolation. It's the context, right? It's Liverpool's lead. It's the fact we're trying to chase them down. And when they got those winners at Brentford, Mikel Arteta's spoken about this, you can't really hide that from players. They've got mobile phones. They know what the scores are. And I do think, to the players, to the fans, those were a little dig in the ribs, weren't they? They were a moment where you thought, wow, they've pulled it out of the fire, they've nicked it late on. It will fill that club, that team, those fans with belief that this is their year. And as I've said many times, there are countless things that happened this season. Add Kai Havertz's disallowed goal to the list that just make me think it ain't our year, you know, our name's not on it. But still got to keep playing. The fixture lists do favour us to a certain extent. You know, we have arguably the easier run in. We just need some players. We just really need some players. You know, Villa had a much stronger bench than us today, and they used it, and they used it effectively. The likes of Dean coming on to create a goal. I mean, they bring John Duran on in attack. Look at his goal scoring record. Well, I'd take him at Arsenal in a heartbeat, in an absolute heartbeat. Right, I'll leave it there, guys. I'm off to the pub. forget dry Jan. It's one of those days, I think. Right, see you later. Bye bye.